Hey everybody, welcome back to Gun Tote Minnesota. My name is Andrew and you are on my B channel right now. I have two channels. My primary channel, Gun Tote Minnesotan, is primarily dedicated to firearms, long range, hunting, that sort of thing. Scope and rifle reviews, maybe a couple blade reviews occasionally. I have another channel called North Knives, which is all about blades and bags, basically. I have my B channel where I have some things that don't necessarily fit in those other categories, but I think they're useful. I think they're something I can get behind. And today's product is actually something I think is incredibly useful. So here's my backstory. I was in the middle of moving. I still kind of am in the middle of moving. And I knew when I got to this new place that for sheds, shops, and storage, like pole sheds, all that, I just didn't want to use floor space for everything. It feels so crowded, it's frustrating. Sometimes even shelving, throwing something like a canoe on a standing rack can be frustrating because the framework, the support, requires structures underneath. It takes up more floor space, and that's one of the problems with traditional storage options, is they take up too much floor space. I had seen Ty Boss on Instagram. It was actually the first place I saw their ad. I was perusing and I just kept seeing the ad. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that is the solution for at least two of my needs. I've got a kayak and a canoe. And those two things I do not want to put on the ground for multiple reasons. Number one, in Minnesota, it gets very cold. And even this lightweight kayak and canoe set that I have here, they could crack. The cold back and forth, cold, warm, it's just not really good for them. And some of those thermoplastics can crack anyways. So I knew I wanted to get these things mounted up off the ground and into the air, not on the cold concrete or gravel, wherever it was that I was going to store it. And so this was the solution. Like I said, I reached out to Ty Boss, and thank you to Ty Boss for sending these out to the channel so I could take a look at them and let you guys know about them. And I'm a big fan. If you couldn't tell, I right away got it set up. I didn't want to have this ground space taken up by, basically just a canoe where things were going to sit in it, and then it's hard to use because everything's sitting in it if it's on the ground, and then it could have issues with the cold underneath causing problems. So there was just so much incentive for me to pay a little bit of money, and that's what I'm going to recommend to you today, is pay a little bit of money so you can get this lifted off the ground, find some studs, find some joists, whatever you need to, some supports in your ceiling, and get some big anchors, like a 3/8 at least size anchor that's rated for 500 pounds or so. They're not expensive, they're very affordable. That's what I did here. I just took two that I had laying around and I put them up in there. I make sure to use a stud finder and get it directly in the middle of that stud so that I'm not doing anything risky. I make sure to anchor it all the way up there. I'm not just hanging it by a couple threads. So I'm gonna do my part to make sure this works well and it's effective and safe. And after that, all I had to do, and this is how simple it is, this is why I think it's brilliant, is I took it out of the package. Immediately, it's intuitive. The strap itself, which goes around your kayak or your canoe, this piece, it couldn't be more simple. I didn't, to be honest with you, Ty Boss, I didn't even have to look at the directions. It was just too simple. I got it right away. I took it out, put on the first strap with the loop towards the top. I had the connecting strap. I waited on that actually, and then I connected this other loop towards the rear. I got the middle buckle and cinched it tight so it was reasonably tight to fit in the middle. And what that center strap is going to do is prevent the ends from slipping out, because you have a contour to your kayak or your canoes typically that goes out, and you just don't want your straps slipping. So that center strap, all it has to do, it's like a seatbelt buckle. If you've used one of those, you know how to use this. It just clips into place, you cinch it down, and it keeps the two supports in a good, strong position. And that's where you're gonna have your connectors for your ring and also your S ring. This comes with a pair of S rings, which you're gonna tie a knot on. If you've never tied a knot before, then you need to go YouTube it, all right? There's a million videos that'll teach you how to tie a really good knot. I just happen to do a modified slip knot on both of my S rings, which hook into the loops at the very top. I'm gonna show you that a little closer in a second. That's hanging up on top. And then I used their device on top of my rings, my anchors up here. This just goes through the device. It's not a ratchet, but the loop anyways. This loop that you're gonna pull your cordage through, I used their device to connect it up to the ceiling in those two places. Again, heavyweight rated anchors into my ceiling loops, hook and loops. I tend to use usually closed loops. I think that's a better idea. If you're gonna go out and buy some closed loops, but I have one open, one closed. And as soon as I got all those tested out, I tested on one side first by giving it a lift, and then got the other side and tightened them up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and drop this down. I'm gonna show you how I can bring this canoe with my trolling motor and some other extras in here down safely by myself as one person instead of two, which is typically what I need. I'm going to release it out of the joint here, and maybe I'll bring the camera in a little closer just so you can see what this operation looks like. All right, I'm gonna lift this out. That's just the keeper. And then you have some teeth that actually engage. I'm gonna pull straight out and then back down, engage the teeth. Okay, so I've brought my first end down, and you can't see that. I brought my first end down, and now what I'm gonna do is come over to the other side and do the same thing on this side. A little bit more, so I'm gonna do that. And when you get to a place where you're comfortable, you can just let the teeth engage again, come back to the loop, and snap it in the loop again. That's all I had to do. I don't need another person to do it safely, and I've got a lot of stuff in here sitting on the side. Now I can go back to the other side and work it down to the ground the next like 2 feet. There we go. And I'm still gonna bite a little bit. So it just holds it the rest of the way there. Probably take out the paddle. And back out. And we're down. That's it, guys. It's not that complicated. I can come around to my hooks, take that off. I'm gonna go over to my buckles. And if I were actually gonna take out the canoe today, then I'll just take my buckles off on both sides. This strap has a buckle, there's a center buckle, and one on the following strap. Really easy to get set up, take down, and from here, it's actually relatively easy for me to load it onto my van. In fact, if I leave it hooked up, I can move it over to my van and set it down on the top of my van and get it out. It's pretty cool, very convenient. I'll just show you for the sake of somebody's curiosity. How about setting it up? Let's set it up one more time. So I'm gonna pull it out. I like to give my hand a wrap around. I get the teeth to engage. Hold my place, come back to the other side, pop it out of, oops. How about we do this, just so you can see better. I'm gonna pull it out and then get the teeth to engage, and I'll go back to the other side one more time. Teeth to engage, and I pop it in. That's just kind of a safety thing for me. I don't know that you actually have to do it exactly the way I am each time. And the weight of what you're seeing right now is probably 150 pounds. That's why I went with heavier hooks and good nylon rope. And their hooks are definitely rated for this much. Typically, I think this is advertised for a kayak. I'm using a canoe. I do have some gear in here. That's not the way I've seen them advertise it, but I'm going to tell you, in my experience, I don't have any concerns. Nothing seems to be flexing or broken. All the straps seem to be rated for it. And it's a relatively lightweight canoe overall. Not really worried about that, but not hard. I mean, just a few minutes. Drilled some holes, set in those hooks, attached this, ran through, made a slip knot on the S hook, attached this. It was like 7 minutes start to finish. And that's exactly what most of us guys need, is something that's quick, it doesn't take excessive time, and gives you a lot of that ground space, which is so valuable in your shop. And that's about as high as I need to go with it. I can use the underspace now for whatever else is going on. I like to keep the rope and the edges out of reach for kids or little ones, just so that nobody ever tries to grab onto it. It's another advantage of your system is you can just throw the rope up a little higher and nobody can hurt themselves. All right, forgive me guys if the camera angles of audio isn't amazing here. I'm kind of working inside of a crowded shop right now as I'm getting space made. But I will tell you, 10 out of 10, I love it. There's nothing about it that I thought was complicated or hard to use or too unique to their design. Everything just seemed to be intuitive, easy to use. And it's just gonna be up to you if you have the strength to lift things up, but you can do one side at a time. So although I might not be able to throw this whole canoe up on my shoulder very well, I can do one side at a time, even with some extra gear in there. Like I have a little motor sitting in there and it's basically easy to do. So if I can do it, you can do it, and it will free up a lot of space for you. Highly recommended. Thank you one more time to Ty Boss for sending this out to the channel. It is much appreciated. If this isn't exactly what you're looking for, or you want to see something else, maybe watch one of these videos, which has been hand selected for you.